Hi everyone. Today a little video regarding based on the idea of the exit. Today we won't focus on the immediate exit, what we eat right now, but in a broader sense of sustaining the separation. I wrote a bit in my book. I offer different voices to the revolution of dry fasting. I gave various insights in the explanations I provide for participants in the retreats. There are no strict guidelines. We do not force people to continue a ketosis. But we will talk about that today because it is still something interesting. In any case, I would say to continue. I would say to go 2 or even 3 weeks after dry fasting because there is really a benefit to doing it. Therefore, 3 choices. I won't disclose the 2 options as they are in my book, but you can have an idea of what it is. We are in a paradigm change today. There are hardly any fasting centers that grasp this. Most will give you fruits, apples, all sorts of vegetables that will irritate the mucous membranes. I think these are reflections I've had a lot as a nutritionist. I have 20 years of practice in my office regarding all these matters of digestive tolerance, all these questions. What is the ideal food to eat after a dry fast? I have 3 suggestions, and today we will discuss one of them, which I find vital since dry fasting is more than just a food break. It's mainly a full reset, cellular and metabolic, a thorough reorganization of the body, including the nervous system and energy field. We do not start fresh. We undergo a total rejuvenation of the body. Moreover, this transition will span roughly 3 weeks. Following that, we typically engage in 5 to 7 days of dry fasting. We undergo a reset of all systems, both intracellular and extracellular. All bodily systems are revitalized. The intestines are purified through autophagy and later regenerated by growth hormones and stem cells that aid in repair. And indeed, this period is truly crucial during dry fasting. We still see many dry fasting centers that focus on a carbohydrate intake. I don't believe that providing just any carbohydrate is truly the answer. Whether it's juices that are somewhat sugary, whether they are raw or cooked juices, that is not the solution for me. So we genuinely strive to maintain this curative therapeutic effect by significantly lowering insulin, ensuring it doesn't spike. So glucose dropped after fasting. We maintain a metabolism that uses ketone bodies right after we finish dry fasting. Therefore, we genuinely aim to sustain this duration for a prolonged effect. A week of dry fasting is great. We already have many ketone bodies, about 2 to 3 times more than water fasting. And with juices during juice cleanses, we have roughly 10 times more ketone bodies, much more concentrated. No calories are coming in. It's the maximum effect of autophagy. But we really try to continue if we can psychologically handle not consuming carbohydrates. So blood glucose has dropped. Fats become the main fuel. The liver changes fatty acids into ketones like acetoacetate, beta-hydroxybutyrate acetoacetate. It is primarily BHB, beta-hydroxybutyrate, that serves as the energy fuel during fasting and ketosis. For those on a ketogenic diet, this is truly the fuel that comes into play. So the brain, heart, and muscles adapt well to this. Moreover, the body functions without metabolic waste, without inflammation or oxidative stress. It's really that simple. It's a clean, high-energy fuel, much more interesting than glucose in terms of performance. Thus, we make a genuine effort to avoid reintroducing carbohydrates because it can stop autophagy. We stop ketosis right away when you introduce a slightly sweet liquid juice, even a vegetable, even carrot juice, even diluted. There is a whole controversy. There are people who do not agree with this. They will argue that sugar is necessary to feed the brain. This is entirely incorrect because gluconeogenesis plays a role. You have glucose made from glycerol. So you necessarily have a diet that is made from your system, your brain, and your red bone marrow. Your diet consists of ecorsetone, which is 70% food that feeds the red bone marrow, brain, and red blood cells. It is a fuel for other energies. So we don't necessarily need glucose, but glycerol provides you with about 10, 20, 30% of glucose on average. You are never out of glucose. Therefore, claiming that sugar is essential for brain function is incorrect. Therefore, ketosis is adequate to sustain you and ensure a healthy life. Additionally, as triglycerides break down, glycerol is always available to support you. It brings you glucose through transformation, through oxidation, what we call beta oxidation. So there you have it. No sugar is needed after a dry fast. Autophagy is inhibited. When we eat sugar again after a dry fast, we inhibit autophagy. And if we can continue autophagy for a few more days, even a week or two, we have people who continue the ketogenic diet. They make an effort to apply it somewhat. They inquire, that's all. We genuinely target independence. Plus, it's up to each individual to seek knowledge. I'm not going to provide ketogenic diet recipes. That's not my role. But basically, we take out carbs and substitute them with fats and proteins, and that works well. Then there are recipes available. We really need to work on dietary changes, getting rid of all those carbs that are toxic. In reality, with these carbs, we introduce many health complications, all kinds of diseases. I've done videos on this. That's it. So these carbohydrates also hinder cellular regeneration. Instantly, we bring that back quickly after a dry fast. This will lead to digestive problems. If you suffer from candidiasis or helicobacter and you start consuming juices or sugary items after a dry fast, it can result in fermentations that negatively affect the entire microbiome and digestive tract. So the idea is really to continue this autophagy and not to trigger carbohydrate stimulation, avoiding insulin increases. Our impact on weight, metabolic diseases, and hypertension will be even more significant. And we will really smooth out our curve regarding HbA1c, which is glycated hemoglobin. We will improve all these factors. The indicimate pre-diabetic individuals who are highly stressed, all of that, we will really smooth out this curve. Blood tests will truly improve. After that, ketosis is roughly an average of 20 grams of carbohydrates. Going over 20 grams of carbs stops ketosis. We shift to low carb. It's one of 3 interesting options post-fasting. I think post-dry fasting is interesting. Some people don't want to stop eating carbs, and that's all right. We have about 3 options available, which I find intriguing. Therefore, we are opting for the most challenging solution, but it is feasible to implement after a dry fast lasting at least 2 to 3 weeks. Afterwards, we can return to a flexible or low-carb option. To keep this average rise, it varies by person and depends on our exercise, like sports. We can increase a bit more, I would say 30 grams, 30, 40 grams. 20 grams is equivalent to 1 apple a day, so we live with it. It can be one dark chocolate bar a day, and you're close to that. So that's why we extend ketosis for 2 or 3 weeks. Energy stability, so I said 70% is from ketone bodies providing constant energy without hypoglycemia. Thus, you have an endless source of energy and you never feel fatigued. In fact, people who finish the programs tell me it's remarkable I'm not tired anymore. So you remove fatigue and allow for digestive rest because there's no more difficult mixing. When you combine carbohydrates with animal proteins and perhaps add dairy or something else, you create combinations that are impossible to digest, and you're always tired. It drains your energy. Digesting uses up 30% of your energy, so if your digestion is off, you're perpetually tired. So here, you have a double advantage. You experience hyperdigestion and hyperassimilation of what you eat, especially after dry fasting. Your mucous membranes are completely regenerated and in excellent condition. And then there are ketones that give you high energy fuel, so you never feel tired after meals. In ketosis, you never feel sluggish. It's impossible to feel fatigued. Your energy remains constant from morning to night. That's why it's interesting to consider engaging in a bit of ketosis at the very least. So, energy stability, no fatigue, better concentration throughout the day. It's truly mental clarity. More intuition, which connects you to spirituality and meditation. You feel much better in life, that's obvious. You attain hormonal equilibrium via insulin, thus cortisol, leptin, ghrelin. These hormones regulate hunger and fullness. You won't feel these anymore. Arriving at 11s or 11:30, hunger disappears and the hormonal effects are evened out. You really achieve a hormonal balance across all systems through ketosis, so it remains interesting. Cravings go away. Emotional tranquility is achieved, meaning no digestion, fermentation, or bloating occurs anymore. With the digestive system at rest, we experience a significant energy conservation. Reduced inflammation indicates a condition called Crohn's. A significant digestive disease arises from the combination of dry fasting and a genetic health diet. You have a truly spectacular effect on autoimmune diseases that have chronic inflammation. You have an anti-inflammatory effect on pro-inflammatory cytokines and on NFKB, the inflammatory marker. By reducing your ultra-sensitive CRP, you can conduct tests before and after, which is quite intriguing. And then no more pro-inflammatory cytokines, so everything we see in COVID is an infection. I know this is fast. You quickly notice the anti-inflammatory effect that appears. You will notice an improvement in your skin and more flexible joints, which is beneficial for degenerative diseases such as arthritis. Arthritis, you are doing dry fasting followed by a ketogenic diet. Continue this for 2 or 3 months and you can see amazing results. You can really counter a significant pathology because you have this continuous ketosis. Naturally, dry fasting maximizes effects on autophagy and regeneration via stem cells, among other things. So you have a double effect. Combining the ketogenic diet with dry fasting is truly the winning combination. Afterward, you should have discussions with your therapist. There are discussions to be had about the next steps, but in any case, avoiding too many carbs is worth it. Cellular reconstruction is also better activated when insulin levels do not rise. So regeneration remains active if your insulin is low. If insulin rises, post-dry fasting, cellular regeneration is reduced, and stem cells may express less, may activate less. So it's really interesting to respect them for 3 weeks because that's when stem cells will regenerate. The organism in the 3 weeks or so that follow the dry fast. Anti-aging effect, there is no more oxidative stress. mitochondria multiply, what we call mitochondrial biogenesis. So you really have an effect on this mitophagy, mitochondrial renewal, which occurs in a much more interesting way if you are still in this post-dry fast rise. This is really important. You experience an effect on immunity and microbiota, enabling reconstruction. Without surplus carbohydrate overload, meaning bacteria are no longer nourished, leading to Candida albicans. That's why I slightly denounce to some people who continue to believe they are doing herbs, who have been doing this for 30 to 40 years, to think that we need glucose right after fasting. It's false. It's completely false. You can indeed reactivate Candida albicans, reactivating bacteria in the digestive tract, and immediately after a dry fast, you reintroduce sweet things. And this is indeed a very important point to adhere to as soon as you break the fast. The immune system will regain its intelligence much more easily if you do not stimulate it. You let the digestive microbes rest without any sugar, and they will be grateful for it. Mental equilibrium, ketosis will produce GABA and subsequently dopamine. Serotonin at a stable level, much more stable. When insulin is present, it ruins everything. When sugar levels rise, it causes blood complications and disrupts your entire physiological system. The main idea is to be aware that carbohydrates are not our allies, that we should be particularly cautious with them. Then there is a way to consume carbohydrates, there is exercise involved, there are foods you will eat that will buffer, and there is also reflection. When you consume carbohydrates, you really need to think about when you take them during a meal, because they can be consumed, but there is a logic to it. The errors to steer clear of in order to finish this video are indeed the sugars that are consumed after a fast are a mistake for me, even fruit juices, things like that, whether raw or cooked or cereals. We don't do that. Too much protein can also trigger gluconeogenesis, which can raise your glucose levels as well. We also have a logic in food reintroduction with proteins. We go step by step. We need protein, of course, but without excess. We aim to follow a certain logic during the first 3 days of reintroduction, offering sensible choices like light proteins, etc. So there you go. We really try to calm the nervous system. Staying in ketosis for a few weeks definitely has its advantages. We truly feel in a state, I wouldn't say euphoric, but rather peaceful and calm. We don't crave sugar at the end of meals anymore. It's all gone. If you can hold on a bit longer, you won't need it. It costs. The moment you have a little, your brain enjoys it and you get trapped again. So it's important to really avoid it. Full avoidance. If you love dark chocolate like I do, you can still have some. 2 squares daily, just eat them, but it must be 100% dark, no sugar, and you still get cocoa. You can still enjoy it. Plus there's erythritol. It's a sugar that doesn't spike insulin, which is noteworthy. We won't go into those details. After the ketogenic diet must really be well formulated with a good amount of fatty acids, the appropriate amount of protein, which varies for each person. If you take a bit, adjust it accordingly. These are consultations done in an office. We can really assess the needs of the person. We genuinely strive for balance. And then there's the issue of acidity. If you only consume proteins, it's insufficient and may not be beneficial. I'm not a fan of 100% carnivore diets because they throw off your acidity balance. It's too acidic. And there's an overload of omega-6, which can cause inflammation. I don't support a strict carnivore diet. Red meat is okay, but we need to be careful with the basics. Afterward, We tailor meals based on daily requirements. And that's it. I just wanted to provide you with a quick overview of the idea that we are truly in a paradigm shift. We're working on evolving dry fasting. We haven't been stuck in the past for 40 years or reading texts from a century ago. Shelton and all that was fine. But there's no use in fixating on that. Evolution is taking place, and we are genuinely trying to follow it. To discover the best diet possible post-dry fasting, and what I've understood after all these years of guidance is truly, sugar is definitely not a good choice after fasting. Eating cereals is one option, like others do. There you go, you see a lot of dairy products, honey and such in Eastern countries. I really don't think this is the answer, as it causes inflammation. And for all the reasons I've given, that's it. So that concludes this video. Until next time, thank you everyone.